We had Hitman Go, and now we have Lara Croft Go. Easy transition?
Not at all. So as Hitman Go was a very simple board game approach, which made sense for the Hitman universe, we couldn't really take the same concept and apply it to Lara Croft Go. Lara Croft is an exploration adventure game, so we really wanted to take the time to make into its own thing. So we still took the Go concept forward, which means boiling everything down to its simplest form. And it essentially became Lara Croft Go. So you have different layers of environment you can climb into, but it's more really about exploration. So this time you're not limited on a game board. You have plenty of space to find the puzzles and have a good time.
I'll sort of talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but I was interested when you said at the start of the presentation just how surprised you guys were at how big Hitman Go got.
No, exactly, right? Because it's such an unusual concept. So when you look at Hitman, it's always this giant universe with a lot of complexity. And with Hitman Go, we really decided to boil everything down again, which was surprisingly successful. But when people started playing it, it made sense. When we announced it, the interesting part is everybody was on NeoGAF, for instance. They were like, I never asked for this. First of all, it was a mobile game, which people are always a little, careful about when it comes to AAA franchises. But when they started playing it, they just said, oh my God, this makes sense. It fits really well within the Hitman universe, and it's just perfect in its simplest form. So we were really excited about that.
And because of the success of that, did that give you more freedom, more flexibility with where you wanted to take the Lara Croft version?
So yes, of course, but we were very thankful to be working in really, really great collaboration with Crystal Dynamics. They gave us amazing pointers, whether it is in terms of narrative or the entire universe. So it's really a hand-in-hand collaboration, but we were really excited to take the Go concept to Lara Croft. So they could feel this excitement, and they were definitely just up to the challenge with us.
I have to talk about the visuals because they're just so beautiful and soft. And just sort of, can you talk us through the iteration process of that and how that all came to be?
Of course. So when you think about the classic Tomb Raider games, it's all about the low poly aspects, the simple shapes, and it was like in 1998, so 20 years ago, which makes us all feel very old.
Let's not talk about that. I'm getting grey in my beard already.
So we really wanted to explore this aspect, but with very actualized visuals. So we call it sort of the high-def low poly. Really simple shapes, almost no textures, and we really wanted to take this to the new level, to the next level. So.
Okay, and you mentioned the puzzles. That's obviously emphasis. You'll see that in Tomb Raider games. But how do you reimagine it for, well, as you said, it's essentially a board game now?
Yeah, despite the more wide exploration approach, it's everything turn-based again. So as in the first classic Tomb Raider games, it's all about Lara fighting against the environment. So you have different creatures, you have traps, you have different boulders, turn-based boulders that we just saw.
I still love that turn-based boulders. That's amazing.
It's a very shy boulder. But yeah, no, it's all about bringing all those elements together. So you have different behaviors. You have enemies that follow you, enemies that will move only when you move. And it's all about just exploiting those classic moments into very boiled down versions of what they should be.
Now, you mentioned there's checkpoints in this, and there's also a little bit further on in the demo, I think you've made a mistake about the positioning of something. So you knew within the next few steps you were going to get killed or you would have to reset. Is there an option to, once you see that happening, just to skip back to the checkpoint?
Yes, I just like to show the depth of the pain I would go through. But no, every time you can see you're stuck. So with Hitman Go, sometimes you would get stuck in some form of loop that you couldn't really proceed or progress as much as you would expect. So in this iteration, we decided really to give people the option to, one, not get stuck as much, and two, you can get out of there as many times as you want. And if you see you're about to make a bad decision, or if you just made a bad decision, you can restart the game or start back to the checkpoint, essentially.
Well, can you sort of talk about the structure of the game? You go on, you start this adventure, but how does it play out?
So you start with a prologue, and then it's broken down into 3 different chapters. Each chapter has its own set of enemies, its own universe, and its own kind of progression through the nonverbal story that's going on there. So we saw there was a very ominous creature at the start that follows you as you play the game, and the story slowly unfolds. But yeah, it's all about breaking it down into different temples and tombs that you have to explore, with the end goal, of course, of collecting the massive artifact that you're after.
And you said around about 7-8 hours gameplay length, or
4 to 5 hours, broken down into 75 puzzles in about 41 levels, which vary in size. So,
just curious to know. I mean, given that it's a mobile title, well, not even necessarily that, but how you weigh up? Right, this is the right amount of content, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so with Hitman Go, there was about 91 levels, which was a lot of content. And we decided to better gauge with data from the players as well, and the feedback players would give us, better gauge the bite-sized content and give them as much content as possible that is as engaging as possible without being too much. And the interesting thing we added also is a much more smooth learning curve. So as I mentioned previously with Hitman Go, the learning was kind of hard at first. So you would get a few mechanics and then it would just spike up. Now we're really smooth, and we've smoothened up. We've made everything much smoother in terms of learning, and then content will be as sufficient as people should expect it to be.
Well, you guys are locked up in this booth for a couple more hours, I imagine, but afterwards you're right back to the studio. So what's the roadmap ahead for the next few weeks? What are you concentrating on?
So Lara Croft Go is launching on August 27th. So of course my job will be to make that happen. And then we are just working on additional projects. We're actually a small studio of 40 people, and we work on teams of about 10 people. So we have a few things going on, but nothing that I can talk of.
Okay, that was going to lead me into my next question. You said that essentially the Go franchise, if we can call it a franchise for the moment, you have almost a Pandora's box open for all these Square Enix titles. Is there any particular leaning or interest you have? Because certain titles, certain franchises may work better within this environment, but there may be a challenge to try something else entirely.
I mean, we're always open at looking at options. What we want to do, of course, is always find the best fit possible. So if there's a specific franchise that calls for it, if the players are interested in having it, it's definitely something we're going to look at. But we're not excluding other forms of games. Like a month ago, we released Hitman Sniper, which was a much more core experience. It was a fixed position shooter that has a lot of strategy in it, which is really different from the Go concept. But we're not excluding working on different potential ideas as well. So we're always thinking about what we could do next.
Excellent. Okay, so just wrapping up then, what mobile platforms can people find this come the end of August?
So we have not announced any platforms in specific. Of course, like this demo, you saw a couple of devices, but we will be talking about that closer to launch.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you for yours.
Lara Croft Go, keep it connected to Gamereactor for more.